This video is brought to you by Def Magazine Issue 5. Head over to staydef.com to cop the issue and to read my interview with Uncle John. And stay tuned to the end of this video to hear all about what this issue features. And now let's get on with the video. Many people lament the fact that hip-hop is not as regional as it used to be. And while the internet has homogenized most of mainstream hip-hop, the underground is filled with artists still representing the specific culture and taste of their cities. Westside Gunn and Griselda have put Buffalo on the map as a legitimate player in the game. Blue has been making Los Angeles anthems for years now, and artists like Boldy James have reintroduced Detroit grit to a new generation. Washington, D.C. is a city with a long musical history, but mostly within the genre of go-go. Hip-hop has a fairly strong history in the DMV, which is a region comprised of D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. And while many successful hip-hop artists have come out of the DMV over the years, D.C. always felt like a city that deserved more. As one of the biggest cities on the East Coast, there has never felt like there was a ton of pride in D.C. hip-hop. That is, until now. Uncle John is an MC who started making waves in the underground this past decade, and he has defined what hip-hop out of the district is all about. His music is filled with grit and authenticity, and the soul of his city has been with him through his whole career. His most recent album, Pride of a Man, was released just a couple months ago, and to me is the finest work of his career. The album is an examination of who he is as a man, through the lens of pride. Take a listen to what he told me about what this album means to him.
But it's kind of like something that I like really stand on, like something that I feel like I go through the motions with of my everyday life, like having pride, and you feel what I'm saying, like being a man, a black man, having certain pride about certain things, whether that's good pride or bad pride. I feel like as a man, like we all make our decisions off of that. I think my pride is what like led me here, is the reason why you even know who I am. My pride is the reason why, you know, maybe I'm also like not as far as I can be, right? I'm probably kind of like still like chugging on that train a little bit because I got pride, you know, like there's certain things that I can't do and I wouldn't do because my pride won't let me. So I feel like our pride is like the leading deciding factor to like how we approach like our morals and shit like that. So this project mean everything to me, bro, because like fuck rap, you feel? I don't give a fuck about the rap shit. I mean, I do care about the rap shit, but pride is like something that we all deal with as a man, and we're gonna be dealing with that to the day that we die.
You can read our full interview in Def Magazine over at staydef.com. This album that was built from his pride is the piece of work that he is most proud of too. He alone constructed this entire album. He recorded, mixed, and mastered every single track himself, handpicking some of the most talented artists in hip-hop to work on it, including The Alchemist, Inspector Deck, Domo Genesis, Navy Blue, August Fannin, Fly Anakin, Ali, Static Selecta, and more. And Uncle John himself has taken his game to a place he and his whole city can be proud of. The album was dedicated to the memory of his grandmother, and he's able to channel the most introspective and mature writing of his career. By runtime, this is his longest project, and he uses every minute of it to put himself on wax. And if you've been following his career, then you know that he's been building up to this for his whole life. Uncle John was born and raised in Washington, D.C., but he fell in love with New York culture at an early age. While his family was listening to soul, he looked up to the New York rappers of the time, and got very into graffiti tagging as well. When John got old enough to make his own music, he wanted to take what he loved so much about New York hip-hop, and bring it to his home city, to inject what makes it so special into his music. His first album, The Red Room, came out in 2017 and showcased his already distinctive sound. Take a listen to his very first verse on that record.
Shit, a nigga like myself never chase a bitch, raise the grip. Fuck a lazy shit, my aim is swift, smoking on some Asian piff. Sprinkle a little Jamaican in that, had me seeing lights like a Vegas trip.
His gravelly voice makes for the perfect delivery vessel for his gritty, hard-hitting lyrics about crime and life in the underbelly of the city. He was able to draw from the lyric-first New York City MCs of the Golden Age and Memphis-based horrorcore acts to create his own brand of dark hip-hop. On this record he arrived fully formed, and knowing that he was confident and prideful in his skills allowed him to continue to evolve as an artist. The next year he released a handful of projects, each unlocking a different side to Uncle John as a man. Lordy by Nature introduced the world to John's other alias, Lordy, which he has used throughout his career. This album gives us a look into DC's underground car culture. This record is a little more laid back and slick than his debut, letting his style stand for itself. Wisdom Equality, Knowledge Born, and Knowledge Understanding Cypher is a pair of albums which are essentially a quartet of EPs, embracing a lo-fi sound, feeling like a lost cassette found in the 36 chamber of the Woo. Van Ghost was his collaboration with Big Ghost, and really was the first record to really announce him as a legitimate player in the underground hip-hop scene nationwide. A number of iconic albums from the underground's finest were released around this time, and Van Ghost is John staking his place with the best of the scene. Unc Nasty saw him exercising the more stylish, playful side to his sound, and then the Yellow House closes out the year, reminding people that all this music is a product of DC, naming the tape essentially after a DC landmark. Uncle John takes pride in being completely independent and bringing his people up along with him. If you've heard any of his music, then you've probably heard him shout out Shop Records, a label and overall media brand that he created to honor his friend who passed away, Chef the Prince. Through Shop Records, he has managed to maintain control of his music and career, building a dedicated following while staying true to his roots. His independent path allows him to release projects on his terms, free from the industry pressures that often compromise artistic integrity. Shop Records not only serves as a platform for Uncle John's music, but also supports other DC artists, making it a crucial part of the local music ecosystem. Recently, Uncle John has transitioned his brand from Shop Records to the new name Veblen Goods, so be on the lookout for that going forward. Uncle John continued his run into the next 2 years, releasing a number of great projects. A few highlights were Lordy is God, which showed up Kanye West as a high-quality meeting of hip-hop and gospel samples, The Face of Jason, which reminded listeners that Uncle John is one of the most consistent killers on the mic, and Drill Scott Heron, which had John rapping over drill beats to prove just how versatile he can be. He closed out 2020 with the record As Above, So Below, which was produced entirely by Navy Blue. This is one of the best albums of his career. In fact, the writers of Def Magazine voted it to be the 20th best hip-hop album through the first half of the decade. Navy Blue's soulful, angelic production unlocks a new side of Uncle John that allows him to tap into his own soul, delivering some of the most emphatic verses of his career. As above, so below is a phrase that is often used to describe when things are destined to be from the gods up above. And this album felt like it was Lordy's destiny to make, his most artistically confident piece to that point, and he would build on that confidence moving forward. The great thing about Lordy being from a city where he had to build his own lane is that he has become something of a bridge between a few different cities and sounds within the underground. He has worked with Aldovino from Massachusetts, Pink Sifu from Cincinnati, Crime Apple from Jersey, Lord Jamonte from Carolina, and many more. He even has entire albums with Navy Blue from California and Rome Streets from New York. From afar, it may seem like this is not out of the ordinary, but there really hasn't been much crossover between the Griselda camp and the more abstract Slums extended scenes. And Lordy not only gets respect from both, but he's able to adapt his sound with every collaboration to meet any artist where they sonically live. Genesis 127, his project with Rome, is a display of lyricism with two titans of flow. And then his collaborations with Look Damien are much more focused on culminating a darker, horror-inspired vibe, feeling like the soundtrack to a cinematic suspense film. He spent the next couple years with his foot on the gas pedal, maintaining one of the most consistent release schedules in the game, and with each release, he further developed his skill and presence as an artist. Until 2023, he would release many albums a year, but as he gets older, he's begun taking more pride in his work and letting each album breathe. He was ready to release Pride of a Man way back in 2023, but he took his time with it, making sure it was the best that it could be. He even tried to shop it around to some labels because he felt like it deserved a proper rollout with some push behind it. He never could quite find the right label situation, so he stayed on track as he has his whole career, releasing it independently. This album represents everything that Uncle John is proud of, and he's most proud of this album. You'll notice many of his releases before this were all in collaboration with one producer, but on this record he decided to put it all on himself to curate the best album of his career. He handpicked many different producers for this album, giving the whole project a much more varied sound than most of his other records. You'll hear great spitting on every Uncle John project, but on Pride of a Man you'll hear a sound that is curated through 3 decades of life. On this album he uses many different producers, which is quite different from his other projects, and by handpicking the best of many artists' sounds, he's able to have a varied album sonically that covers all of the facets of who he is as a man, while still feeling cohesive. This album is still filled with the cocky crime bars that you would expect from Uncle John, but then you have back-to-back joints like Without Her, where he dives headfirst into his feelings of loss, and Pride or Ego, which examines the pride and ego that guides him in everything he does, especially this album. Uncle John has a lot to be proud of over his career, and his home city should be proud of him too. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let me know down in the comments what is your favorite Uncle John album. Don't forget to check out Def Magazine over at StayDef.com. We dropped our 5th issue just a couple months ago, featuring my interview with the cover artist Uncle John, and the issue also features a ton of great exclusives that you can't find anywhere else. In this issue, all of the Def Magazine writers, designers, and creatives came together to assemble our 50 greatest hip-hop albums of the decade so far. This was one of the coolest pieces that we've ever put into the magazine so far. I personally wrote a little something about each of the top 10 albums featured. On top of that, and the cover interview, I also wrote about 8 9 The Brainchild, and I had to pen a tribute to the late, great Ka. On top of what I contributed, there's a bunch of other interviews, album reviews, and a lot more. One of the highlights of hip-hop for this year was the fact that breaking was featured in the Olympics, so you know we had to have a breakdown on that. And one of the features that I'm most excited for about this issue specifically, Chop the Head, who is one of my favorite visual artists in the game right now, breaks down 4 of his iconic album covers and what his artistic process is like. I am so beyond proud of everything that we've accomplished as an independent magazine over these last 2 years, and this is by far the best work that we've put out so far. Physical issues are available at StayDef.com, and I want to give a shout out to my patrons who are always doing so much to support me and my channel. If you become a patron at the $5 level, you get free digital copies of the magazine on top of all the extra bonus features that you get with becoming a patron. Anyway, this is my first video of the new year, and you already know I got a ton of great stuff planned for you guys, so stay tuned, stay safe, and stay def. Thanks for watching.